everyone, it is Shipwreck Samantha here, and welcome to Art Tip Wednesdays, where I review artwork submitted by you guys. This is a series that I used to do probably about a year ago, and I'm going to start picking it back up again. This is not going to be a weekly series as of right now. That depends on how many submissions I get in, and so just as a little announcement, I will say that this is some little bonus videos I'll be doing in between my Sunday and Friday videos. When I can get to a point in my schedule where I can do more than 2 videos a week, I will do that. And I'm going to try my best to do a lot of Art Tip Wednesdays from now on, depending on how much artwork I get submitted from you guys. And so the point of this series is to give constructive criticism on artwork. This is in no way of me intentionally butchering artwork or hurting people's feelings. The whole point of this series is I want to help artists grow, and so with my limited knowledge of artwork, I tried to give a little bit of advice on improvement. And I'm not saying that any of the artwork that I review is not artwork or is not good artwork, but I am just reviewing it in a way that I think can be improved, and this is also on personal opinion. As a disclaimer, I'll say this is personal opinion as one artist, and a lot of artists will say different things. This is also a place where the people in the comments are welcome to give their own critique if they would like to, as long as it is kind and not condescending. Any rude comments will be deleted, so I want to make this a kind, welcoming environment for you guys to learn and grow. And so, with that disclaimer in mind, I am going to start with the first artist to submit once I reopen this series, and I really hope I'm pronouncing your name right, but it is Charles Halloran. I already forgot. I don't have it pulled up right now. There's a watermark on the next drawing I'm going to do where you can see his name, and I'm really sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, so we're going to get into the first drawing. I really love the concept of this with somebody on another person's shoulders. And the one thing that I was a little confused about was I checked the canvas metadata for this, and it's 4,000 by 4,000 pixels with 264 dpi, which should be really good quality, but this is a bit grainy, and so I was a little confused. You did send me a PNG file, and so I didn't know if this was a lower resolution file that you photoshopped or gimped or whatever out to make it a transparent background. But it does have these rough edges, and it may not be like that on the actual illustration that you show, or I don't know if this was a mistake, but you can just see I can go in and clean up the edges pretty easily just by erasing. I do take away some of the line work, but you can see it smooths it out. I also don't know what program to use, and I probably should have asked that, and that might be part of it. Though it is a type of style to not have smooth shading and highlights, maybe that could be something that could improve it overall. I think, just in my personal opinion, that smoothing out the shading helps. So let's just say I took my blending tool and softly blended it in. So it's still defined shading, but you can just see the difference when I blend it out a little bit, and same here. I actually used to draw in a style that was very harsh shading, and so there's nothing wrong with that, but you just see the difference in that. And that might also be because this drawing is a bit grainy. And the one other thing I noticed, which I'm sure this was just a common error, and let me get something, makes it easy to point out. A nice color. Right here, you missed a little bit of shading, and that's just a little common mistake. Also, maybe try and make this area a little more readable. I couldn't quite understand if this lady was wearing stockings or if she was barefoot, because it's a little difficult to tell if she's wearing stockings or she's barefoot because the toes aren't defined. I assume because the toes weren't defined right here that she was wearing stockings, but because it's so close to her skin tone, it's difficult to tell. Another thing I might suggest to work on would be maybe focusing a little more on light source. You do have a little bit of confusion with the light source, because I see there is a lot of shading, harsh shading on this side, which would imply the light is coming from this general direction, but then I also see a shadow right here, and then some really harsh shadow here and here, and then there's also shadow up on top, so it kind of gives me the impression the light's coming from this way, and it's just a little hard to read where the light is coming from. So maybe just do a few color studies or light studies and just practice just with the values of black and white and get a better feel for the lighting. This is still something I struggle with. I find it really hard to keep track of one light source, but it is something that really helps to practice with. Overall, though, I really do love the concept of this piece. I love the expressions on the ladies' faces and the energy it shows, and it really makes me wonder what kind of mischief they're getting up to. It almost looks like two little kids trying to look like one big grown-up. The next drawing by the same artist is this really cute illustration of Groot, and I really love the little baby Groot, even though I'm not a fan of Guardians of the Galaxy in general, and so I really like this drawing. And I'm really noticing just a couple of the same things that I pointed out in the last drawing. Let me make a new layer. So this is also a little bit of confusion with the light source. I'm getting the impression, and I hope it's right, that the light is coming directly from this direction, because I'm seeing the gradient going in this direction. And I am seeing the highlights here and here, but you are lacking a bit of highlights right here on this arm, or maybe is it supposed to be behind him so it's not in the direction of the light? So just something to think about maybe with more lighting, and maybe just give an example of what it would look like if we blended the pot just a little bit to give another example of blending that shading. It just gives it a different look. And there's really nothing wrong with the type of shading you use, and I am blending the line work a little bit, but you can kind of see the difference. And so that's really with preference, whichever you think looks better, and so that's just a suggestion. And then same with everywhere else, you could just try blending it in. So I could blend this in, and something I would think about is maybe try not doing quite as much harsh highlights, because with wood, highlights on wood are interesting because different surfaces deal with light differently. A shinier surface would reflect more light, but a dull textured surface like wood wouldn't reflect light as much as you're showing here. And so I would say the highlights wouldn't be as harsh, and I would actually put more emphasis on the shadows. Maybe another thing you could even experiment with is thicknesses in the line work. You seem to use the same size brush for everywhere around the line work on all of this. I could probably copy the width, and it looks like you just went around on everything. But if you did different lines, like if you did thinner lines here, we get a different color. So that's how thick it is. And if you go thinner here, and then have a little wood texture here, and just show a little more detail, because when you have that really thick line work, it's a little harder to get that detail in there. And maybe with the program you're using, you can't really zoom in and do this, but doing areas like the little crease of his mouth, and his mouth in general, smile, just shows having that little bit of variation in line work. I do think makes a difference overall. And there's nothing wrong with having line work. I've had to teach myself that recently, that sometimes it's fun to have a lot of line work in drawings. And so maybe just playing around with the line width variation might add a little more character to it. Well guys, that's all I have for this video. If you want me to continue doing this series, be sure to let me know in the comments below. You're also welcome to submit your artwork for future Art Tip Wednesdays through email in the description, or you can also tag me on Instagram with the hashtag #LookShipwreck, and that way I'll be able to see your drawings. Feel free to leave specifics on certain things you want to improve on, things that may not make sense and that you want to learn. But once again, these videos are meant for all of us to help each other with artwork and not just me to look like some superior artist that knows everything. I want this to be a place where you guys can comment and also give this artist ideas on how to improve, just like you guys are helping me with my sketchbook Sundays. And so I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Again, make sure to comment and let me know if this is a series you want me to continue. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys Friday.